brought to you almost live from the Dude in the Basement studios. Why? Because that's where the good stuff is. It's Sips, Suds, and Smokes with your smoking hosts, the good old boys. And now it's sippin' time.
Oh, yes, it is sippin' time again. Hello, and welcome to this Sips episode where everything good in life is worth discussing. As always, we are the best thing on at 2 a.m. This is a 1-hour show that's reasonably entertaining for, 17, 18 minutes or so.
I'm going for 22, man. I'm going for 22.
You're overreaching. We are currently banned in at least 3 countries. The state of Alabama. Of Alabama.
I'm not going to say Roll Tide this time.
All right.
No. This was a devastating win in the last damn seconds.
Thank God.
Loss. Sorry.
I don't know
God. I've been drinking, folks.
Yeah. Yeah, so we're banned in Alabama, and due to a small disagreement with the local authorities, we aren't allowed to attend our school's Little League games anymore, but I'm telling you, that son of a gun was cheating. This is Made Man Bob.
It's only because you're betting on the games.
Don't you?
Made Man.
Joining me today are Made Man Maury.
Good morning, Bob.
And good old boy Harmeet.
Why am I here at 2 a.m.?
I don't know what to tell you. You don't like the basement?
I like the whiskey. Thank you.
Well, you'll go anywhere for liquor. I know you. Maury and myself are with the Bourbon Mafia. The Bourbon Mafia is a nonprofit organization composed of high-end bourbon enthusiasts and industry professionals. With representation in 8 states, our members combine a love of bourbon with a passion for charitable work.
And drinking.
The group uses their love of our native spirit to raise money for local and national charities through rare bottle auctions and other themed events. Check us out on Facebook at The Bourbon Mafia.
Would that theme be bourbon? Your themed events? Just the theme is bourbon, right? Yeah. Yeah.
There's another theme? I mean, it's not the Bacon Mafia. I do that on Tuesdays,
Yeah.
Maury and myself are... Wait, I'm going back. Okay. Our show is also sponsored by Fine Spirits in Cooper City, Florida, home of the Enigmatic Machine, serving great wines, whiskeys, and other spirits by the glass. You can find them at finespirits.net.
Did you say the enema machines?
Yeah.
Again.
You notice the doctor is the one who goes there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
yeah, the doctor...
He's not a proctologist, though. He's a urologist.
Yeah, front, not back. Yeah, I don't have to tell you. Our sip segments, right in the toilet we're going, folks.
Oh, yeah.
Our sip segments are all about wine, distilled spirits, tea, coffee, and today's show is a Distiller's Takeover show featuring products from the Balvenie distillery. We'll cover some background on the distillery as well as on the individual products we'll be tasting. And here's a short list of what we're going to discuss today. The Balvenie 12-year DoubleWood, the Balvenie 14-year Caribbean Cask, the Balvenie 15-year Single Barrel, the Balvenie 17-year DoubleWood, and the Balvenie 17-year Madeira Cask.
All right. Love that stuff.
And here's Maury, who's going to give us a little bit of background on the distillery.
Thank you, Bob. In 1892, the whiskey business was good, so William Grant bought some land in Dufftown next to his Glenfiddich distillery and began building a second distillery. Construction was completed and the distillery was completed and became operational on May 1, 1893. William Grant remained active in the company until his death in 1923 at the age of 83.
Whiskey keeps you going longer.
Absolutely. Whiskey a day keeps the doctor away. Originally known as Glen Gordon, it was later renamed for the ruins of the castle located next door, a portion of which was eventually converted into a malting floor. The Balvenie remains one of only a few distilleries in Scotland that still operates its own malting floor to supply up to 15% of its needs. And I was on that malting floor. I got to tell you, it's pretty impressive.
I hate you. I understand. I love you, but at the same token, I hate you with every fiber of my being.
So
it's like a marriage.
They malt and then put them in the kiln and dry. It's a pretty phenomenal place. In the early years, the distillery provided product used mainly in blended whiskey for the William Grant Company's Grant's Steadfast brand. Due to the success of the William Grant & Sons Company, 2 additional stills were installed at Balvenie in 1957, a further 2 in 1965, and again 2 more in 1971. In 1973, the first official bottling of the Balvenie was filled under its own name. It remained a rather hard-to-find brand of single malt due to its continued use as a blending component by the company. The opening of the Kiniveni, thank you. The Kiniveni distillery in 1990 helped to loosen up the supply of the Balvenie, and the subsequent opening of the Isla Bay. That's not how you spell Isla.
Well, it's not. The way they spell the word Isla isn't the way you pronounce Isla either.
Okay, fair enough. The Isla Bay freed up additional supply following the Balvenie.
Means nothing in Scotland. Most of them are drunk.
Correct.
They're completely drunk when they're pronouncing stuff.
I love Scotch. Scotch is got Scotch.
Yep.
Here it goes down into my belly.
Hey, how do you pronounce Brewish Loddish?
Allowing the Balvenie to become widely available across the U.S. and the rest of the world. The history of long service at the Balvenie was not restricted to its founder.
Didn't even stop.
Nah, he's not paying attention.
The current master of malt at William Grant & Sons, Mr. David Stewart, began working for the company.
He's awesome.
As an apprentice in 1962. In 1974, he became malt master of William Grant & Sons, a position he holds to this day. Over his more than half a century at the helm, Mr. Stewart developed the process of 2-cask maturation in the 1980s, a practice in common use today, and he also developed the use of the Solera maturation process at the Glenfiddich.
Yeah, he's I mean, that guy's beyond a legend.
I'm pretty sure David Stewart retired. When did you do this research, Bob?
No, he's, like Jimmy Russell is kind of retired. I mean, he's still kind of there.
No, Brian Kinsman is the malt master.
But he's not.
But David
gone.
Stewart's name is on every bottle.
I'm pointing fingers here. Brian Kinsman's malt master now.
David Stewart's signature is on every one of these bottles.
On the bottles that we have, Brian took over, I think, 2 years ago.
Okay. So let's talk about some Balvenie facts.
He's trying to screw with you.
I thought I told you never to interrupt me while I'm working.
Sorry. I love that show.
Bob, tell me about the capacity. Can you help me out with the capacity?
Well, I've got some information here that, I just basically put down so we'd have for the show. Basically, the phenol levels, the new make spirit and all that. They've got 11 stills working. They've got dunnage warehouses as well as palletized warehouses. They started out small and they've slowly continued to build. And like you said, the problem is this was a major component in one of their very successful blended whiskeys for all these years. So it didn't really make it out. It didn't get the love that it deserved. It was sort of, hey, we've got the Glenfiddich. We're going to build this over here to, get us a supply so we can continue to do the other thing we're doing. And they finally, when they opened up the third distillery, they were able to start actually releasing some of this.
Well, but if you look at the dates, the distillery opened in 1893. It wasn't for 80 years before they bottled the first bottling under their own name, the Balvenie.
I mean, some of it made it out to, a lot of the independent companies, independent bottlers have been bottling Balvenie here and there for, longer than they've been doing it themselves. So it's been out there, but, it's finally starting to get the love that it deserves. And, it's one of my favorites. I definitely love it.
Well, we'll talk about the whiskey, but another thing to know about Balvenie, or is it Balvenie? We need a Scottish guy on this show, I swear to. We need
Thank you. There you go.
Somebody do the accent. Can someone do the accent? Can we just make fun of guys in kilts?
Sure.
Anyway.
I don't know. Never make fun of a guy wearing a skirt.
Just a couple tidbits. The water comes from the Conval's Hills Spring. They have 11 stills operational. They're putting out new make spirit at 70% ABV, and they're using steam as a heat source. Fermentation time 65 hours. And at this point, how about we move on to Harmeet and have him tell us about the SIPS rating?
No, I don't want to do the SIPS rating. I want to talk about Balvenie, man. You guys are giving it short shrift. This stuff is awesome whiskey. We should talk about their stuff.
It is awesome whiskey.
That's fine. Oh, by the way, Kininvi now is now releasing a single malt, even though it's their blending malt. A 23-year-old bottle of Kininvi, a half bottle, is over $100 these days. So we'll get back to more Balvenie love. I'm going to give it some love later.
Well, that's for people who don't know somebody who owns
now.
a liquor store. For those of us who know somebody who owns a liquor store, get that special backdoor discount.
We're not talking about backdoor discounts.
It's $120 a bottle. So
yeah, there you go. Let me tell you
You're
something
learning.
about these ratings.
Could I get some of that Kinvini?
Kininvi.
Could you get me a bottle of that?
I think I may know where some Kininvi is to be had.
That would be great.
Yeah, that'd be great. All right. So let me say something here. We have these ratings we give the whiskey. Every whiskey gets a rating. And what we do is we taste the whiskey, we make our notes, and we say, hey, what shall we give it? Between 1 and 5.
Depends how much they pay us.
They know we don't take any money. This is wrong. I tell everyone we don't take money. And it's true. But
Take whiskey.
One sip. Give me a glass of water to wash out my mouth.
Gangadin, water. Gangadin, bring water. Bring water.
2 sips. Nice, but what else do you have?
Well, isn't that nice?
3 sips. Interesting. What was that again?
Interesting.
4 sips. Let us keep this a secret to ourselves. Pour me another, mister.
That's classified.
5 sips. Oh my, I was unaware anything could taste this good.
We'll come back with 5 sips.
You rudely interrupted me.
We're coming up with 5 sips, was it?
Okay, let me say again. When a whiskey is so good, we want 5 sips. We give it a rating of 5 sips. Hence the 5 sips eponymous. It's eponymous. The word is eponymous. 5 sips means we want 5 sips.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Yes.
Something that these boys have never heard. I apparently finally heard it because, the neighbors were, doing their thing.
Yeah, good for you and the neighbors. So,
But anyway, sorry for going so long on the sips and the Balvenie history thing. But we need to talk about our first whiskey of the night, the early morning. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Maury, you want to start?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Harmeet. Thank you for that beautiful introduction. The first whiskey we're going to talk about is the Balvenie. The Balvenie 12-year DoubleWood, coming in at 43.0% ABV. The Balvenie.
He's going to edit this. Just start right now. Go ahead. The first
product we're going to review. The first product we're going to review is the Balvenie 12-year-old DoubleWood. It clocks in at 43% ABV. The Balvenie DoubleWood is a 12-year-old single malt, which is first aged in refilled American oak casks, as in ex-bourbon casks, and then it is transferred to first fill European oak sherry casks.
Do they say what kind of sherry? Is it all Oloroso? Do you know?
I don't know, but it's sherry.
It is sherry.
It's got a beautiful golden color, really a very pleasing golden straw whiskey. On the nose, you get sweet fruit and definitely get the Oloroso sherry notes layered with honey and vanilla. The palate, it's a beautiful whiskey on the palate. It's got some honeyed sweetness. You definitely get a hint of bourbon. I get some cinnamon spice, vanilla, and just the faintest hint of smoke. There's also some dried fruit, nuts, nutmeg, and again, hints of sherry. It's really just a superb whiskey on the palate.
Leave it to the urologist to go on about nuts.
Mm-hmm. The finish has a little bit of spice and has a combination of both dry and sweet.
It paid for the Corvette.
Yes. I would say that this whiskey is, when comparing it to the other things in the line, as you'll hear about in a few minutes, it's clearly the entry. But when comparing to other 12-year-olds, it's really a phenomenal whiskey. I don't think there's much else out there in the 12-year category that can compete with this whiskey. So if we judge it as a 12-year-old and compare it to some other 12s that are out there, I just find it a wonderful entry-level whiskey, and I give it a solid 4 sips.
That's classified.
Bob, what do you think?
I definitely agree with you. Everything that Balvenie makes really hits my palate correctly. I'm a big fan of their product and of all their products. The 12-year-old, like you said, I think it's an excellent entry-level whiskey. I definitely pick up the fruit on it. It's very sweet on the front with the sherry. I get a honey sweetness. I definitely get the spiciness on the back palate, and I get the vanilla on the tip of the tongue. An excellent whiskey overall. I give it a solid 3.
Interesting.
Bob,
as Harm reaches for the bottle, let's see what he thinks.
You disappoint me, Bob, with your solid 3. I agree with Maury on this one. This is a whiskey that deserves a little another look. It's better than the 3. For one thing, back in the day, being from India, of course, we only drink Johnny Walker. We actually drink more Johnny Walker than is produced.
I hate to break it to you. I talked to your mother. You're from Indiana. It's spelled.
No,
your spelling is horrible.
I was born in New Delhi, my friend. I got a birth certificate. At least it's the birth certificate of the child they bore. I don't know where they stole me from.
Yeah, well.
Anyway, this is just a great whiskey. This got me back into single malts after so many years of being disappointed. I tasted some other malts, which I will not name because that's just unfair. But I tasted some single malts when I was younger, and I thought, who drinks this dirt and why? And then I was introduced to the Balvenie, I guess, when I was about 21 or 22.
You were really 12, but who's counting?
Yeah. Okay, well, whatever.
You're dyslexic. I get it.
I was introduced to this, and I thought, hey, there's something here. And
he
Balvenie,
is dyslexic. He swears to dog.
I do swear to dog. I swear at the dog all the time. Balvenie. The DoubleWood is the first single malt that got me back into single malts, and for that, I will forever be grateful. The color is gorgeous. It's amber. I get a little green glint on this thing. And I asked about the sherry cask. We do get the Oloroso sherry, but I think there's got to be some other types of sherry in there. It is just freaking gorgeous. The nose is sweet. There's layers of it. I get a lot of clean malted barley. That's the other thing. You get malted barley that's got some muddiness to it.
Sometimes it's got a little funk. Yeah, the cereal notes on this are very, very sharp. And that, you know what? That's all of their whiskey. Mm-hmm. It's sharp. I mean, there's no muddiness whatsoever.
Well, was Maury was telling us, 15% of the stuff at least is malted by themselves. Yeah. They're not. I guess they're not contracting this out, or a lot of it they're not contracting out. The palate, gorgeous, cinnamon, spice, vanilla. Maury mentioned some smoke. I really only got that on the finish.
Very little.
It's almost nothing there for smoke wise. Especially if you're an Isla guy, you're not going to get any smoke at all. It's a sweet whiskey. And since I'm sitting next to a urologist, the nuts. There's some nuts here, baby. Anyway. Cinnamon, some nuts, and the
Maury has cold hands. I'm just
putting that out there.
Yeah.
That finish is surprisingly dry. I was actually surprised. Even after adding water, there was some dryness on the finish. It really surprised me. And I have to give it a solid 4.
That's classified.
Wow.
So who's doing the next whiskey, Bob?
You want to do it?
Do I? No, don't do this. Okay, I'll do this one.
Do that one. Why not?
I'll do it. Now I gotta pour some more whiskey in my glass. Hold on.
Oh, that would be a horrible, horrible thing.
Got to finish that
would
12-year-old.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. May I have another?
As I open this one, the Balvenie 14-year-old Caribbean cask. This is finished in rum casks from the Caribbean. They will not mention the names because if we mention one of the names, we wouldn't be able to sell it in America, I believe. But most of this is Jamaican rum casks.
Well, it's probably not.
What's wrong with Jamaican rum?
I'm sure it's probably not Icelandic rum. You know,
No, not right. But one of these is Glenfiddich used to make a wonderful 21-year-old, and it used to say Cuban rum casks on the top of that label. They had to stop selling it in America for that reason.
well, this one, if you
Glenfiddich owns this.
if you go to
Balvenie.
the UK and you buy a Balvenie, it doesn't say Caribbean cask; it says Cuban cask.
Does it?
So,
Yeah.
To this day?
To this day. But they're not allowed to say that here. But actually, there is some Jamaican cask.
There's
in here.
glasnost going on now, or something. We can
we
talk
might
about,
get there.
We can talk
Well-
about Cuba. So
Well, I don't know. There's a new administration in town. Let's see what happens. At any rate, this whiskey is aged 14 years in oak casks before being transferred into those rum casks. So this is less than a year in those rum casks. Most of their finishes from Balvenie tends to be 6 months to 9 months anyway. So it's not over the top with the rum, which I really appreciate. The color is slightly lighter than that DoubleWood. Gorgeous in the glass. The notes slightly tropical. I don't get as much tropical fruit as some other people do. There's some burnt toffee, but it's the palate that sets this apart. You can taste that rum, even though it's less than a year in that rum cask. Oh yeah, vanilla, rum, apple. I get more orange than apple. A little bit of water brought out some more tropical fruit, like banana and mango. The sweetness actually was intensified. And let me taste this again. Hold on. Gorgeous. It is a sweet whiskey. The finish is long. It, again, because it's Balvenie, does finish dry, which is surprising with such a sweet whiskey. Mm-hmm. This is the biggest seller from Balvenie in my store, and I believe their lineup internationally as well. Great whiskey, but frankly, it's a little too sweet for me, so I only give it three sips.
Interesting.
Bob, what did you think about this one?
now you see, this is where we part ways because he gave me gruff about the last one. I go the exact opposite on this one.
Well, you've got the more, I guess, pedestrian taste since this is the big seller.
It is. You know,
3 sips is.
It is slightly a little bit sweet, but it's not cloying.
It's definitely not cloying.
It's not. It's. You know, I hate to use that word because it sounds pretentious and we sound like we're from somewhere other than the basement, but it's not that mouth-coating, sticky, sweet, like you just had too much candy. This one is one of my favorite expressions from Balvenie. And there's a reason it sells a lot.
It's their best
They
seller.
do this one
I'm saying it's the perfect whiskey for the hoi polloi.
Yeah.
If you pedestrian people with the unrefined palates want to enjoy it,
I mean, on the nose, it's mangoes and papaya and tropical fruit and
papaya.
Yeah.
Oh.
And you get that burnt caramel in the back of the nose.
Okay.
And on the palate, like you said, the rum comes out, but it's not hitting you over the head. You know, that it doesn't taste like they poured 5 gallons of rum into that vat. I mean, it's just you're getting the highlights of it. A little bit of vanilla. I definitely taste the banana on this. The orange. I'm with you. The orange is much more prevalent for me on this one. Mm-hmm. It's just
take a sip. Yeah,
it's got a beautiful, beautiful mouth coating feel to it. I actually like this one without adding water to it. I like it as is. I think you lose a little bit when you add a touch of water. It tones it down a little bit.
I actually felt that way about the 12-year-old. I think I shouldn't have added the water, but I do it anyway to taste it.
I do it to everything when I'm tasting. I try it straight. I try it with water, and then I know I do it with anything new, so I always know where I'm going and what I want to do from there. But the orange notes on this. It's got a beautiful finish. It's sweet but not sticky. It hits on all cylinders for me. I give it a solid 4.
That's
Nice.
classified.
Maury, what do you think?
Well, Bob, I agree with you. I actually was going to agree with Harmeet until he got to his rating. I think to ding it for sweetness, is a shame, because I agree, it's not cloying, it's not overly sweet, it's just nicely balanced. It's just beautifully
You guys are going to browbeat me into changing my review?
No, we're not going to browbeat you. We're going to cane you.
God, that's fine.
Quiet, numbskulls. I'm broadcasting.
Thank you. I agree with everything that's been said so far. There's a reason it's #1 seller for them. It's a beautiful, beautiful whiskey. The first time I tried it, I fell in love with it. I agree. It doesn't taste like you're drinking rum. You're clearly drinking Scotch. It's definitely got hints of rum, highlights of rum.
It's just taking the best essences of the rum and just adding it. It's not covering it. It's not replacing it. It's just enhancing it.
It's not a flavored whiskey. It's clearly a Scotch.
Oh, God, no, yeah.
And I think that, we've had plenty of cloying, sweet flavored whiskeys where they're literally dumping sugar in. I think this is a beautiful whiskey. And I on that basis, give it a solid 4 sips.
That's classified.
All right.
Good job.
You're outvoted.
Fine, be that way.
All right. Well, our next one up is the 15. Harm, why don't you tell us about that one?
I've still got 14 in my glass. Let me remedy that. Pardon me.
I gave you more than one glass.
How do you want to talk about the 15?
You usually
I'm going to talk.
You usually
about
have at least one glass in each hand.
I'm being a good boy today. No double-fisted drinking today. All right. Another little sip of the 15 just to refresh my memory. The color is a beautiful amber. There's a little bit of a red glint in this one. I'm wondering what kind of barrel they used.
Sherry.
Balsa.
Oh, wait. I've got the notes right in front of me. In fact, I've got the bottle, which says this. So this is not a sherried cask, although most of these are sherried. There's a lot of, this is the thing with the single cask. I love the fact that Balvenie gives you all the information on this.
This is actually an older one that I had to pull out of my own stash.
Well, this was bottled in 2012. It's not that old. It's a 15-year-old
for this
whiskey.
house. That's old.
Yeah, for your house.
What, are
definitely.
you kidding? Good Lord, that's ancient.
This was barreled in select ex-bourbon casks from the Balvenie distillery. This is cask number 8829 for y'all who are looking for that. It was put in
one more, and I can drink 8890.
That's right. Oh, you've got more than that.
I'm just saying. Well,
we'll speak.
I don't know if that's Balvenie's number. That's my number. So
nice. This cask was first filled on the 26th of April in 1996. So here you go, Bob.
Don't bogart the scotch.
Yeah, I got you. This is a great one. Bob does have access to some older whiskeys here. So whatever casks you find on the shelves of your local store will vary. Right now I've seen some 15-year-old sherry casks available, but those are single barrel sherries. There's a difference between the regular 15 sherry, which they have, and the single barrel. This is bottle number...
Everything you're going to get is going to be different because they're all individual barrels. So
this is cask number 8829, bottle number 66. Nice. I would have pegged you for 666, Bob, but 66 is good.
That's because I'm an attorney.
Yep, that's exactly why. This is a beautiful whiskey. Of course, attorney. Every whiskey you have is going to be a little bit different, but as this barrel is honey sweet, and the nose I get is a lot of lemon peel and orange peel, and is that lime? I have no idea. I've been drinking. And there's some nice spice to this. I'm getting some cinnamon, a little bit of apple, and the palate is, again, it's that clean barley and juicy fruit, and I got some tropical notes on this one. Let me try again. It's definitely not the remnants of that rum cask. This is a different taste completely.
I think you should drink it again just to be sure.
Yeah, no, I can do this. I think this is a good whiskey. It's a solid whiskey, but there's something wrong on the finish compared to the 14. I think I like the 14 better. So, and again, this whiskey is one of the most variable. Like, you'll find this from $90 all the way to $150 a bottle, depending on which one you get. So this particular cask for me is only a 3, but I actually like that rum barrel better.
Interesting.
What about you, Maury? What'd you think?
Well, I agree with you, Harm, on most of what you said. I think it's a beautiful whiskey. It's decidedly different from the 14, but it's extremely well made. It's balanced. It's got plenty of dried fruit. It's got plenty of tropical notes. And if you're comparing it to the 12-year-old, I think it's clearly a step up. I think it's just different from the 14. And I think if you're in the mood for a classic Scotch whiskey, this is it. This fits the bill. It's not sherried. It has, in fact, it's got no sherry at all. It doesn't have the tropical notes. It's got a beautiful finish that just sort of lingers on and on. And honestly, I have a hard time giving it anything less than a 4. It's just so well made, so balanced.
That's classified.
I think maybe I'm biased because I do like the more sherry finish. Bob, what'd you say?
I'm basically what Maury said. It's you can't compare this Caribbean cask to this 15-year-old single barrel, because the single barrel is more, the classic single malt Scotch, as opposed to the Caribbean cask, which is so aptly named. I mean, again, in Europe they still say Cuban cask, but here it's Caribbean cask. It tastes like the Caribbean.
Absolutely.
But it tastes like a single malt from the Caribbean.
But you're going back. This is the 15-year-old single barrel ex-bourbon, baby.
The 15 is more of just the classic, what you're expecting from a Balvenie. It's the 12 on steroids.
But zero sherry.
Zero sherry. Mm-hmm. On this one. This isn't a sherry cask. This is an ex-bourbon cask. So, I mean, you're not getting the sherry on that. But it's sweet. The barley is clean and crisp like a Balvenie should be.
Their barley production is the best.
Yeah,
their handmade malting floor just, I think, says it all.
I think that, and it's
difference.
only 15%, but I think you can taste the difference of even that small amount mixed into the commercial malt that they get.
What's your rating?
Well, we'll do it when we come back.
Fine.
All right, and we're back, and we're still discussing the Balvenie 15-year single cask.
You were rudely interrupted by our commercial break, man.
Yeah, well, it happens. Somebody's got to pay the bills around here. This basement doesn't come for free,
NPR pays bills?
Theoretically.
We're on more than NPR stations, but whatever. Thank you, NPR. We love you. I listen every day. Well, I have a tote bag.
Like I said, this one is just more the classic Balvenie. That crisp maltiness to it, the cereal notes on it. It's got a honey sweetness. I definitely pick up. I'm with you. There's orange, but there's another citrus. I
don't know what it is.
I don't know if it's
lemon. I get a
or
lemon,
if it's
orange,
Seville orange.
something.
But there's there's a heavy citrus note.
It's gorgeous. It almost reminds me of. It's not as light as the Glenmorangie, which has got a lot more lighter citrus. This is a heavier style.
Yeah, it's more gorgeous. Like a Seville orange. It's right there up in the front. It's an absolutely lovely whiskey, and I give it a good solid 4 sips.
That's classified.
All right.
Awesome.
All right.
Maury, you're going to do the next whiskey?
I am.
Would you like to have a refill?
I would love to refill my glass with a little of 17.
I think you should.
In fact,
would only be proper.
So we're doing 2 17-year-olds today. Maury's going to be tasting the first one here, the 17-year-old DoubleWood, which is a part of the regular lineup. You should be able to find this everywhere now.
The 17 years, I've got to tell you, when I first tried it, was
the
just
two of you couldn't get
highlight.
2 17-year-olds with $1 million in cash.
That's
Who are you
right.
kidding?
I'm not going to jail, baby. Plus, I like my marriage.
Like its 12-year-old cousin.
You like your house.
That's right. It's treated to a second maturation in 2 different types of casks. First, it's matured in American oak ex-bourbon barrels, and then transferred to European oak sherry casks, where it's given an extra 5 years to develop its rich flavor.
Wow.
And I got to tell you, the color is just gorgeous.
It's intense.
It is intense. It is amber. It is just inviting and attractive.
There's a lot of red in here too. It's more than just amber. This is
you're
deep.
getting some red from the sherry. No question about that.
Mm-hmm. It's that European oak.
Yeah, European oak. There may be a little Spanish oak mixed in there. On the nose, it's just complex. It's elegant. It's got vanilla. It's got honey. It's got sweetness. There's even a hint of green apple and a little bit of peach on the nose. It's just really fantastic. This whiskey, swirl it around your mouth, and it just coats. It's just viscous. Yeah. It's just delicious. It's got sweetness, dried fruit, some cloves, some nutmeg. I get a little bit of toasted almond and cinnamon, and then there's these layers of creamy toffee and brown sugar with a little bit of oak and vanilla in the background. On the finish, it's warm vanilla, some oak, and a little spicy sweetness. I can't say enough good things about this whiskey. When I first tried this whiskey, it was several years ago at the Scotch Malt Whiskey Extravaganza, and it was clearly my whiskey of the night. It had just been released at that time, and every time since then that I've tried it, it's really been a standout for me. Against all the other whiskeys I've tried, to quote Bob, it hits my palate.
All cylinders?
On all cylinders. Thank you. It's phenomenal.
I think we found one he likes. This is the most he's ever talked about a whiskey ever.
Yeah.
You obviously have a wonderful economy with words. I look forward to your next syllable with great eagerness.
Thank you, sir.
Let me just keep talking for a little longer.
He's waxing poetic here.
Oh,
but with that,
when you find one you like, you get poetic.
It's 5 sips, no question.
Oh my goodness!
Yes!
If you don't have one, you need one. Everybody needs a bottle of this in their collection.
All right, we'll go to
What's your name, scumbag?
Harmeet.
That's just awful. I'm going to have to delete everything on your computer.
Oh, my God, that was perfect.
That
was perfect.
Wrong.
Thank you, Sergeant Hartman. So,
everything on your computer is now trashed. I'll get to it. I'm just going to bring a big magnet next time. Do you have a spinning hard drive or an SSD?
I'll have what she's having.
You're a cheap lawyer. There's a spinning hard drive in there. I'll get you. Anyway, I used to not enjoy the DoubleWood 17-year-old. In fact, we did a dinner.
And then you got hit over the head and started thinking clearly.
No. We did a whiskey dinner where we did a whole Balvenie line and some Glenfiddichs, and the 17-year-old DoubleWood did not shine. I think it just needed time with air. Mm-hmm. I think this Scotch, like wine, needs a little bit of time to breathe. The oxygen brought out more of the flavors. This is a whiskey that, like Maury said. Bob didn't say anything yet except some insults. Yeah. I'll get you back. It shines, and that 5 years in the sherry, or however many years it's the 5 extra years of maturation. I don't know exactly how much of that's in sherry. Does a great deal. This is an amber whiskey with a lot of red glints, some copper. Is it 5 full years of sherry?
5 full years of sherry.
It's 5 full more years of aging, but God, wow, the nose is so complex. I get a lot of Oloroso on this, like an older Oloroso, like a dry sack.
Yeah.
Oak and vanilla, like Maury said. But for me, I didn't get as much apple. The peach is a standout, really does. And the palate is filled with dried fruits, and I got a lot of toasted almond. Oh, thank you. I'm going to get you for that one. For those of you who are watching this on the podcast, the video. Oh, we don't have a video podcast, but Maury
God, I have a face for radio.
Maury just squirted me with a bottle of water. At any rate,
I was trying to wash your mouth out.
Thank you. No, you don't need to wash my mouth out with this one. This is just pretty. This is really pretty. Toasted almond, just great toffee notes. The Oloroso stands out. Great fruit, and the finish is long.
Just keeps
going. This entire time I've been speaking, I haven't had a sip of whiskey. I'm still tasting it, and I can speak a lot. And It's spicy and sweet and honey, and the nuttiness stands out, but not over the top. I was going to give it a 4, but because we've been waxing poetic about this, it's definitely a 5.
Oh my goodness! Yes!
Yes! He's finally seen the light.
I've seen the light.
I'm tempted to do the sound effect about the words again. So.
Bob,
you obviously have a wonderful economy with words.
Yeah, thank you. We've been drinking, folks, in case you can't tell. Bob, what do you feel about this whiskey? Let's go, baby. Let's do this thing.
Again, I have a very soft spot for Balvenie. It is one of my favorite malts, and it always has been.
That's what she's having.
I was going to make a really dirty joke about your soft spot.
Well, unfortunately, you remember that soft spot? Yeah, my mom pushed that because she thought it was a reset button when I was a baby. But what can I tell you? Yeah, this one, I mean, there's absolutely nothing wrong with this whiskey. I mean, I can't find...
So by definition, you got to give it a 5. Let's move on.
I can't find anything wrong with it.
You've said enough.
Maury's like, he's like a bully here, man. What's going on?
It's like it dried and stewed fruit, cloves and nutmeg.
Next whiskey, please.
You get the sherry on it. I agree with you. The toasted almonds really come forward.
Yeah.
You get that brown sugary sort of burnt caramel toffee on the back end. The finish on it is lovely.
Maury's moved on to the next whiskey, sorry.
And the finish is for a Balvenie, it's a long-lasting finish. Yeah, I really can't find anything wrong with this other than I only have about a half an inch left in the bottle. So.
Oh, and by the way, for price, this is for a 17-year-old. This is exceptionally well priced.
Yeah,
you're going to find it anywhere from like $140 to $160 a bottle. And this is a whiskey that you really want to have in your collection.
Except at Fine Spirits, where it's $2.25.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness!
Yes, we're on the lower end here.
Yeah, that's it just gets better and better. So, all right. Next up is the Balvenie 17.
Was that 3 5s in a row here? Mm-hmm. It's been a while since we've done that. Nice.
Where'd it go?
Where I have the bottle here. Was this what you were looking for, Bob?
Oh, I was putting it in my bag.
I carry a gun. I will point that out.
Bob, please let me present you with this bottle since you're going to be doing the first review.
See, all of a sudden now he's like much more cooperative.
Yeah, it's. I'm not saying I knuckle under to these people, but they're white and I'm brown, so this is the new America, kids.
What's your name, scumbag?
Yeah, thank you.
Tell you what, while I wax poetic, why don't you go take a bathroom break?
Steve's got to go drain the sea monster.
Yeah, okay.
Talk, boy, talk. Let me know what you think about this one.
This one is my unicorn. The Balvenie 17-year Madeira cask. It was released in 2009 as part of 6 limited edition cask strength finishes of 17-year-olds. The Madeira cask was aged exclusively in American oak.
Wait, hold on. Is this fair? This is a unicorn. This is not something you guys are going to find on a shelf anywhere.
Well, we got the samples in, and I want to thank Gemma for getting us the samples. She is the brand ambassador for Balvenie, but unfortunately, we did a tasting at your store just before then, and we drained a couple of the bottles that we were going to taste,
right,
including the 21-year-old. So I had to go into the basement of the basement and find some additional ones to bring in to flesh it out.
I blame Maury. Maury drank most of the 21-year-old.
So this is one
better
of my,
than the 21 port finish.
This one, again, when you find one they make one time and they don't make again, it's of course the one you fall in love with. And this is one that is still to this day speaks to me. I hoard this like Gollum in his damn ring. This is my precious, and I will. Oh, my precious!
Thank you for sharing.
I will hold this one forever.
I wonder what Bob's rating will be.
It's absolutely. I mean, it's got a beautiful color to it. Just a burnished bronze, almost slightly reddish tinge to it. The nose, deep, complex, earthy notes. You really pick up some vanilla and some honey from the bourbon cask. But what you get is you get that stewed fruit, blackberries, cinnamon, apple, ginger, and you get that raisiny effect that you get from the Madeira cask. on the palate.
What type of Madeira cask do they use, Bob?
I don't know. That's one thing I've never managed to get out of him. And I even asked David Stewart, and he was kind of coy and didn't really say. And I got down on one knee and begged the man to please make another release of this. And if he did, to please send a pallet of it to my house. You get that vanilla oaky up front at the very tip of the palate from the bourbon, but then it just
it's all fruit, dude.
It just
it's
comes
fruit.
back down into that ripe, stewed, dried fruit, apricots, figs, cherries. I pick up some walnut notes in this, and much like the Caribbean cask, you get a little bit more of the Madeira note on this than you get the rum and the Caribbean cask, but it's not overpowering. It's not like I'm drinking
Christmas
a Madeira
in a bottle.
It's not like I'm drinking
so
Madeira.
well-balanced.
I'm drinking a Madeira. It's an amazing single malt with all the highlights of Madeira just laid on top of it.
Madeira has a higher acidity, and I think that's coming through here too.
Yeah, it's an amazing whiskey. Please, Mr. Stewart, if you are listening to this, please do another release of this, and I will sell a small child of mine for a pallet of this. I need more. It's hard to keep up with.
You need to do it soon, sir, because Brian, you need. No, Stewart's retired.
David,
I'm telling you, man. Yeah. No, Brian is in charge now. Anyway, but anyway, you need to do it soon because his kids are getting too old. They're not worth as much.
This is
he's got
also true.
He's got to sell a young child.
Matter the organs are worth something. So, yeah, I like Maury said, it's a 5.
Oh my goodness!
Such a surprise.
Well, after that waxing poetic, it's hard to really add
surprise
much to that.
You obviously have a wonderful economy with words.
What do you want from me?
All right.
I'll be economical with my words. It's a phenomenal whiskey. It's decidedly different than the DoubleWood. It is definitely unique. It's one of the most unique whiskeys I've ever had.
And good luck finding it, kids.
Yes, good luck finding it. You know, it's a shame we're talking about this and enticing people, and yet they'll never be able to find it.
There are stores that have it. If you pay less than $300 for it, you're okay.
Okay. That being said, it's a phenomenal whiskey, and it deserves a 5 every step of the way.
All right. Bob?
Harm, what do you think of it?
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Yeah. Okay, well, I'm not going to gainsay one of you. This is a beautiful whiskey, greatly balanced. The Madeira is not overpowering. Everything Bob said about the flavor profile is right there. It's dead on. You get the ginger, the apple, the cinnamon, the blackberry, the figs. There's a little bit higher acidity than Bob talked about, and I don't know how. Maybe that is the golden raisin he's talking about.
Oh, the raisininess is just beautiful.
This is a Madeira finished whiskey that is so well done. It's exceptional, and I understand why it's Bob's Unicorn.
There are a lot of other guys who've done Madeira whiskeys, but they're usually just over the top. It's just too much.
But I've seen very few in the market. Yeah. Very few that have
not in America. You might see some. You might see some duty free. And the finish is, even though it's dry, it's not the dryness of the other Balvenies. This has got a juicy finish for me. It's sweet. It's the acidity really. I think the acidity from this whiskey is from the Madeira is killing some of that dryness. So even though I think Bob and Maury both talked about the dry finish, this is not as dry. It's got a juicy, long finish, and tasting it again. It's 5 frickin' sips, baby. 5 sips.
Can you say it in Indian?
There's no such thing as Indian. With Hindi, Punjabi, there's 20 major languages.
No, with your Indian accent.
Oh, I could tell you this. Let me say one more time. It is 5 sips. I love it.
Baby.
That is, oh my. I was unaware anything could be this good. Baby. This is it. Yeah. I last sold a bottle of this, I think, 10 years ago now. 6 years ago. It's been 6 years since I've had a bottle.
Oh, Jesus Christ, get some more and we can sell it all.
Yeah, we're doing it.
All right. Well, that's that. Yeah, I mean, what more can you say? I mean, it's a phenomenal whiskey. And that's basically all the time we have for today. I hope you enjoyed this episode. You can catch all of our episodes online on SoundCloud, TuneIn, Stitcher, YouTube, Google Play, PRX, and Spreaker, our native media host. iTunes, Google Play, and our own Android app are the easiest ways to enjoy the show on your phone. Just search for Sips, Suds, Smokes on iTunes or in the Google Play Store. Be sure to tap subscribe, and the show will always be on your phone.
And don't forget to send us an email. We need to hear what you think.
Please send your feedback. We'd love to hear from you. You can reach us at info@sipsudsandsmokes.com. Our daily tasting notes flow out on Twitter every day at Sips, Suds, Smokes, and our Facebook page is always buzzing with lots of news. You'll also be able to interact with the thousands of other fans on other media platforms. Do us a favor and take the time to rate this episode. If you're listening to us online, that's a big help to us, and we can get your feedback as well. I want to thank our co-host for joining us today. Thank you, Maury.
Thank you, Sir Bob. Always a privilege.
What's your name, scumbag?
Thank you, Harmeet.
You're welcome, Bob. You're welcome. You should thank me with, like, money now.
Oh. I'm Main Man Bob. This is Sips, Suds, and Smokes. We thank you for joining us. And remember, life is too short to drink cheap whiskey.
Nothing is over until we decide it is.
I'm sorry, that's the end of the show.
All right.
This has been a One Tan Hand production of Sips, Suds, and Smokes, a program devoted to the appreciation of some of the finer slices of life. From the Dude in the Basement Studios, your hosts, the Good Old Boys, will see you all next time.